Um, have you ever had trail running shoes? I mean, they are still expensive, but since your roads are like all wonky and stuff, that's actually kind of like playing Osu with different maps. It might actually be a little bit more dynamic and less boring. For me, I run the same trail. Like I run the same lap every day. They're the whole profile is the same, but having uneven pavement and stuff. If you're a more seasoned runner who's used to like trail running and stuff, that often is more beneficial for a lifestyle than just road running, because road running, well, generally speaking, like I have sidewalks and whatnot. In the end of the day, that just makes me great at walking on sidewalks, but it doesn't necessarily intuitively or passively or actively, I mean, like non-intellectually aware that you're getting lifestyle benefits. So when you're running on uneven road and terrain and like hiking trails and stuff, it will translate more into a lifestyle benefit. So when you trip, you're less likely to trip, less likely to roll your ankles. The only downside is if you're not already well prepped for that, you could roll an ankle and injure yourself and stuff. So most people would like to do it the other way, where they run roads, then get less bumpy trails, and then get into the bigger trails. But when it comes to lifestyle, like what you gain from running, yes, you gain cardiovascular health no matter what type of running you do, and that's why people run in the first place. However, if you run uneven roads and hiking, you also get the benefit that your entire lower body... Doesn't it help your heart even if raw? Yes, it is. That's the whole idea. Most people are motivated to benefit cardiovascular. But if you're a person who wants to maximize running, right? Like really maximize what uneven roads do for you, if you're careful enough, like if you take it slowly, lean into uneven roads, is that it will benefit you in the long run on your stability muscles. So you will be able to balance better, jump up and down, and like go off balance but keep balance. Like when you accidentally like land differently, your ankles and your legs and your knee is already intuitively getting all that stimuli from running on a trail. Yeah, you would try to hike somewhere, but you want to be very, very careful, because if you didn't start on it already, you want to take it super slow. But what you do gain is that it does help your heart. You're still working really hard. You're just not going to run as far in the beginning, because your legs are going to do a lot of work. Like, for example, to compare it, if you just hike in the woods, a completely untrained person, if they went to walk in the woods, like with uneven gravel, everything, for 1 hour, and then another person who's never run or done anything, that same person, and they run 1 hour on a road, like completely paved out, perfectly, like on a track or a treadmill, the person who walks on the wood would need 2 or 3 day rests, because their entire lower body chain is going to be stiff. Like it's going to be really, really sore, because the whole time you have to work everything differently over and over again with every step. So in the end, your heart rate is still going to go up, because it's going to be a struggle to constantly like shift your weight and stuff. But you can't start with speed and endurance yet, because the woods would take a long time to build those things up. But it would seem like you're doing less work. That's the tricky part. Whichever one seems like you do less work is usually the one that you can be more consistent in. But subjectively, you can say, yeah, you would prefer one or another, but statistically, when you're working hard using muscle engagement, it's less suffering most of the time. So for example, the person who's running on the pavement for 1 hour will constantly be breathless. They will continue, and that breathless is statistically feels worse than someone who's working from exerting muscular endurance. So when you're walking in the woods for an hour, it might not feel as crappy as running out of breath in the other one. But in actuality, overall, it taxes the heart very rigorously for an untrained person. So there's a minimum difference between going on a hike and going for a run for that same duration of time. Because the encouragement is to run at a pace you're not like literally killing over, like gasping for air. And when you're hiking, you're doing the same. You're walking as safely as you can, but still it can be a little difficult to talk. So as long as you manage that, overall, most people would say walking in the woods, just the idea of walking and being able to stop and not keep at a pace, is less strenuous overall. But generally speaking, in the end of the day, you have to figure out which one is easier to you, but you can still reach the point of like taxing breathing, and you can do it consistently. The reason why most people run is not only because of hard things. They both provide hard things, so that's negated. Running is easier to find. Walking in the woods is not easier to find. Because, you can't walk in the woods most of the time of the day. Even running, you can't run most of the time of the day for a lot of people. Like, you can't run really late at night in the city or something. And in the woods, you can get lost and whatnot. So whichever one is more convenient. But if you have a backyard, go outside for like a 30-minute walk on incredibly uneven ground, your legs will be like completely destroyed. And then you get used to it. But generally speaking, 2 or 3 days. 2 or 3 days, you'll probably feel really stiff. For me, I run, like even when I'm running, if I go out to disc golfing is in the woods most of the time, or it's in uneven ground. So all you're doing is you're walking, you're stopping, you're playing, you're walking, you're stopping. That destroys my legs. I could be running 3 straight hours on pavements, but it would be nowhere close to the strain that's on your legs. So you do gain that if you have uneven pavement. That's just a slight digression. But what I'm saying is, if you're not trying to win a marathon or try to win a race, generally speaking, just going on a walk in the woods or hike in the woods would probably give you much more bang for your buck. Because then when you get out of bed, when you walk around, when you walk upstairs, right? When you're climbing stairs and stuff, all that becomes intuitively easier for you. As opposed to running on pavement. It's not going to help you with your balance. In fact, there is a chance it'll take away from your balance. It doesn't help you with balance at all. Like really. It will help you run really well and walk really well on pavements, but it's not as dynamic. It's kind of like struggling with a map, right? When you're playing Osu, what I'm doing now, the way I'm training now, is like running on pavements. The way most people are training in Osu or practicing in Osu is like walking in the woods. That's kind of the best analogy I can get. And I'm used to this. I like this. This is a format that I don't do very often. Running is the only thing I do repeatedly that's the same, like very similar. And this is what I'm adapting to just for fun. But to me, I do prefer to have dynamic training, which is walking in the woods. So just not to obscure anything. And you get hurt more often. When you do something more dynamic, there's a higher risk of injury. I'm doing this because I don't want to have RSI, if you know what I mean. So if you get really passionate people get injured when they take on too much. So I'm simplifying it just to see where I am. So there's a lot of trade-offs. Doing something simple like running on pavement will let you whittle out all the little details and work on the little details. Walking in the woods, you're super sore. You don't know. There's like 8 billion things, you know, incredible number of things that happen in the woods. You're not aware of it, but you're gonna intuitively get better at it because your body is amazing at intuitively getting better at things. They compensate. So if you like playing your maps to practice in Osu, generally speaking, you're probably a person who prefers to get their cardiovascular health doing something dynamic. Play football. I only got to play football. I don't know. Play a sport, basically. Play a sport, go hiking, something that constantly change. Like, not each step is the same, because it gets boring. So, for me, I don't like going to the gym to weightlift. I still have to do it at some point, but I don't go to the gym weightlifting. I prefer calisthenics, because calisthenics is a little bit more dynamic. They're all compound movements. So, this Osu training and my running are the two constants that I've done where I'm doing the other way around just to test how effective it is, because it itself is changing up the way I'm playing Osu. I'm probably going to go back to playing maps and stuff and practicing maps at some point. But right now, it's fun juggling back and forth. It's why I love to do these things. I love to figure out what is keeping me back, what isn't keeping me back. Would you say that if running on pavement feels uncomfortable when walking in the woods feel like... not necessarily, no. By uncomfortable, you mean like, you get tired more often? Or what? How do you mean by uncomfortable? It just, I don't think anything is a problem, generally speaking, as long as you don't think it's a problem. The problem arises when it prevents you from doing something, right? When it prevents you from exceeding your expectations or meeting your expectations. So I'm guessing something about running on pavements is not meeting your expectations. Walking in the woods or running in the woods aren't really going to help you run on pavement for a long time. They're still two separate activities. However, running in the woods is more likely going to contribute to running on pavement than the other way around. That's one of the distinctions that you could say safely. So like transferable skills, in terms of transferable skills, pavement running, it has a harder time translating to wood surface, like uneven surfaces, than the other way around. Pavement is far more consistent of a platform than woods. But I don't think it's a problem. It is a problem if you want to run on pavement, right? Like if your goal is, hey, I want to run on pavement, but I like walking the woods more, then eventually, if you want to improve on pavement running, the woods can only make you so good at running on pavement. It's not a substitute, obviously. Like they're both not a substitute for each other. However, one has more transferable help than the other. Here's one that isn't transferable. Like here's another property that isn't. Pavement running is probably going to help you with breathing and stuff. Like if you're running on pavement, it can help you focus on other aspects. While if you were, say, you got up to running in the woods, you're focused on a lot of other things. So there are trade-offs in how much focus you can have. When you simplify something, like running, you can focus on the little details. Doing something dynamic is very difficult to focus on certain details. Okay, let's change this one. Oh, here's the thing. Which environment do you think has less sound? Do you really think the woods is that quiet? Because you said, I was thinking if you perform better with more noise and absence of that noise hinders your performance, that could be weird. But which environment do you think has... Oh, you mean variables? So you would perform better not comparing apples and oranges. No matter what, either task you're doing, you're going to perform better than you did before. Like you're trying to group them together as the same thing, but performing better is compared to itself. The aspects which I'm trying to highlight is that walking in the woods is typically non-transferable in terms of performance to running on pavement and the other way around. Your health improves from either. One is more dynamic and have many more aspects to it, and all those performances will go up. There's another pool of things for running on pavement, it'll go up. But it's when it comes to your performance, if it's better or not, you cannot compare them to. They're two different disciplines. Trail running and pavement running are two different disciplines. So because of that, it's too difficult. Like it's going to be a difficult question to understand if you perform better with more noise or not more noise, like more variables. The idea is though, you can maybe compare the rates of improvements within the discipline. So like for example, if you're pavement running, right, and you're comparing yourself to other pavement runners, and then you look at the rate in which you measure those, and if that rate is improving relative like a pace to the other people, and then you go and walk in the woods or like trail running or trail walking, and you compare some sort of metric to other people who trail run or trail walk, and you see that relatively speaking your pace of improvement is greater than relative to the body than pavement, you can make an argument that you perform better over time for one over the other. It does not compare them to though, because pavement running belongs to a pool of stuff, and wood running or trail walking belongs to a different discipline. They have transferable health benefits though. So like both of them tax your physical, like your lower body, and they provide cardiovascular benefits. If we are trying to compare which one benefits your heart better, well, the idea is you're gonna normalize that, right? You're going to the point where you're struggling to breathe. So your heart, that's gonna be normalized. It's no longer comparable. It's just the same thing. You're striving for the same goal. So it's neither better nor worse for both occasions. Is your objective was to reach the same health benefits. How hard and all that stuff, like noise, like that stuff, it's subjective then after that, outside of trying to measure it. So Like my sister can probably still run really well, but she hikes. She prefers to hike for her cardiovascular health. And I run because I don't want to drive to a park and to do it. It's easily more accessible just to go outside and run. And to me, this is more accessible. Osu doing tapping back and forth reps, it's more accessible to me. It's very structured. I like to have structure. Woods can be structured in a wider sense if you walk the same trails, but the chances of you walking exactly the same every single day along the same trail is still less likely than running exactly nearly the same every day on a fixed pavement that has like no alterations outside of weather. And I can tell you that I mark down when I'm running whenever the weather changes substantially. So then I know that how weather affects me in a way. But there are very few variables. But you might already intuitively know if you prefer something with less variables or more variables. One thing that is statistically true, and it's about performance, not whether you do better or worse, is that more things are more complicated. Less things at once is less complicated. So that is not a subjective take. So the idea is, how more do you want at the risk of not knowing anything at all, right? So for me, I cannot play an Osu map. There's too many things that I have to take to note to know where my problem areas are. So I simplified my Osu training to focus on fundamentals one at a time. It is definitely the least popular way of how younger people practice things. As an adult or as an older person, I can't juggle a lot of things anymore at once. If I'm training to be decent at something, I have to compartmentalize it. It's too much for me to handle. So I keep trying to be as dynamic as possible when I want to be. But generally speaking, when I'm training, I need to minimize the noise that you're saying. I'm trying to minimize the noise so I can focus on the variables that I want to focus on. So in a way, I'm using this as an example. When I'm talking to a younger person though, generally speaking, a younger person hasn't lived long enough to be able to experience all the noise and then selectively decide on the noise yet, on like what to focus on, what to minimize. So generally speaking, it's carpe diem. You seize the day. You just go out there, you enter as a dynamic environment as you can, knowing that you have to be safe and intuitively learn all these things. You have to sample all the noise. I've sampled a lot of noises in my life. Like, I can tell you my body doesn't hold up to certain things after like 10 years of strenuous experimentation. So for me, when I talk to a younger person, someone who's a lot younger, maybe in their 20s or their teens, generally speaking, I'm more likely to recommend dynamic things. And dynamic things means more noise. So the dynamic ones are more noise things. Because younger people can juggle a lot. They're really good. They have high energy, high stamina, relatively speaking, to when they become older. When you become older, not as vibrant, right? So you reduce the noises. So things become more simpler and you can focus on those. So for me, if you want to encourage a younger person to like go out and enjoy cardiovascular fitness and stuff, you got to give them something dynamic. Go out and play football, right? Or go out and play sports. Throw something, as opposed to going to run, just like straight up run. I mean, there are young runners all around and whatnot, but statistically, when it comes to running, it's far less than all the sports that are available, right? The sports that are around. So when you look at track and field and stuff, and even some of the fastest runners, yeah, try it. I guarantee you, throw something, pick it up, throw it again, pick it up, throw it again. Even walking, just you'll see your cardio go up. It's low steady state. You could throw, sprint to it, sprint. You have to go over there. You have to travel on foot. When you're throwing something, it's gonna be extremely strenuous. And what I mean by that is, I think maybe you're using the word cardio as in you have to be breathing heavily and stuff. But when you do something steady state, you're still doing cardio. When you're walking, you are still doing cardio. The idea is to increase the volume. So there's low steady state cardio and there's high intensity cardio. A lot of times people talk about the high intensity cardio because it's shorter. There's enough time for it. But when you're young, you have time, probably not clouded by jobs and stuff yet. Low state cardio can be fun. It's like really fun. Like I would love to go on a 4-hour walk outside instead of a 30-minute run while I'm deaf. But I can only achieve all the things I need to do on a daily basis to keep it within 30 minutes. So I'm always feeling like death, but it doesn't have to feel like death. You can get a treadmill, walk and watch 2 hours of Netflix. Just plop your smartphone on your treadmill, watch 2 hours of Netflix while just walking back and forth, and you got good cardio. That's how the body works, right? Most of the time. It won't make you any like faster. Faster is a different component. Faster is a skill. Like being faster involves pushing your maximum heart rate, and a good cardio just means, your heart isn't keeling over from inactivity, that kind of thing. So the most consistent thing for people to walk nowadays is pull up a television screen or pull up your favorite programming and get on a treadmill. Just walk. Someone who walks 1 hour a day, it probably has incredible cardio compared to most of the kids that aren't doing any cardio. Now the thing is, when you're a kid and when you're young, cardio is not that big of a deal. You're active enough, like, while growing, to not have cardio issues. Cardio comes later, right? Inactivity comes later. So one of the biggest misconceptions about cardio is that as you grow older, activity must increase. When you're younger, you're more robust to decrease activity. So the current narrative when it comes to statistics or like fitness or obviously a little hand waving because I don't have the data. When you're getting older, you are more encouraged to increase activity. When you're younger, you don't necessarily have to have a lot of activity. But our society takes advantage of enabling younger people more time to do physical activities because it's exciting, they're stronger and whatnot. When you're older, you have other responsibilities. Yeah. All right, worm. Here's, if you have a box, if you have a sturdy box, if you want to see cardio, if you have a sturdy box, maybe knee height, maybe stack up some books. Step on top of the books with both legs. 1, 2. Step back down. 1, 2. Keep doing that. Do that for 20 minutes. You'll feel it in your heart and your legs. You don't need to walk or run or walk in the woods. You can literally stack boxes and walk up them. If you have stairs, walk up the stairs and walk back down the stairs. Do it for 30 minutes straight while holding a smartphone and watching your favorite video game stream. Just do it. Like, you will feel like trash the next day for sure. Like, or if you're hyper recovery, if you have a really like fast recovery, you'll probably feel it in day 2, not day 1. So you can probably go and do 2 days and then feel awful as the delayed onset of muscle soreness comes back. Generally, it's the second day for those individuals. But yeah, find a staircase, just step up and step down over and over again. You got it. That's, of course, it doesn't help you with balance other than the step. The steps are really flat and stuff. It's stepping. If you ever go into a gym, you'll probably see a Stairmaster where instead of a treadmill with inclines and stuff, it's just an infinite staircase. And you can get cardio that way. On rainy days back in the day, all I did was lift my legs. So do a march in place. Like stand, just stand up, lift your leg into a 90-degree angle, put it down, lift your other leg into a 90-degree angle, and just keep repeating. And just watch a stream or something, or have your phone or TV on or something, and do that for an hour. It doesn't reduce your productivity. Yes, you can. Actually, the biggest warm-up, one of the nice things about balance is when you're resting, this is usually called passive rest, or an active rest. Sorry, an active rest is if you're gonna rest every other day, like for me, what you can do is to do active resting. So one thing to do when it comes to being on your legs is to balance. So you can balance on one leg. Just stand there and balance on one leg, count to 10. Balance on the other leg, count to 10. Statistically, like some of the science behind this is if you can do a task over the course of a week, if you do a task about 5 minutes total, you will probably gain stability and conditioning of your muscles. So 5 minutes a week, right? So you have 5 minutes to separate across the week. So how many sets is that? How many reps is that? Well, if you balance on one leg for 10 seconds each set, and then you do it 3 times, 3 sets a day, that's 30 seconds each day. You multiply that by 7 days, that's 210 seconds. Not quite enough. So what you do is you do 30 seconds a set. That'll give you a minute and a half each leg every day. You do it for 5 of the 7 days, and you have 5 minutes. You're over 5 minutes, actually. So if you want better balance in your legs, alternate trying to balance as best as you can without injury. 30 seconds a set. So 30 seconds 3 times on each leg. 5 days, 5 days of the 7 days in a week, and you will naturally improve your balance. And what you do then is it will help you your stride balance. Anytime you're on your leg balance. So those are the quality of life things. So you could instead of walking in the woods or running in the woods, is it better to do with eyes closed? I haven't really tried that. But here's the thing, right? Which one do you struggle with most? And which one you can safely do the task consistently? So on the one hand, eyes closed will probably increase its difficulty, right? But the thing is, you'll probably learn how to do it with your eyes closed. Now here's the catch. Doing it with your eyes closed doesn't make you better at doing it with your eyes open. If you know what I mean. So which one do you want? I mean, for me, I probably work on doing it with my eyes open because most of the things I'm doing, my eyes are open. But perhaps you need a task that involves doing with your eyes closed. And that'll be a task you're used to, I guess. So it's not better or worse. I think it's just two different things, two different conditions. Like, do I want to play Osu with my eyes closed or eyes open? Well, I mean, technically, you could practice with your eyes closed. Like, you can, memorize the map, like say a jump map, right? Like a 30-second TV size map. And you play with your eyes closed after memorizing it. Or you look at it once, then practice closed, look at it again, practice closed, and eventually maybe you'll get good at doing that. Yeah. So you can do both. Okay, so here's a lifestyle, in my opinion, anecdotally, I'm not saying as a professional. My life advice is, if you're looking at a life skill, which is walking longer distances, or getting up, having less trouble following someone, or walking around town, when you're thinking about life skills, the answer is, why not both? I mean, the question is, why not both? If you're training to be very, very good at something and you're competing against someone, then you start asking yourself questions like, what are the conditions that you must practice to compete? What are the rules for competition? But when it comes to health, do both. Sometimes balance with your eyes closed, sometimes balance with your eyes open. The bottom line is, don't hurt yourself. Like, make sure it's safe. Juggle as many things as possible, simplify or complicate things as much as possible. But the bottom line is, there's no better or worse. They're just how much you can do. The best question, in my opinion, that is worth asking yourself is, can I do it regularly? That's what a lifestyle choice is. I can do this regularly. I cannot at the moment play for PP to improve in Osu. I cannot do that regularly, and I'm not going to do that regularly. I'll do it every once in a while, but I can tell you that the vast majority of my time on Osu has been this. Like 80% of my time has been doing something like this, because I can do it consistently. It's not exciting, it's not dynamic. Heck, it's really boring to watch. It takes away from my goals, but it also contributes to my goals. So I do it because it is no longer dependent on things I can't control. So doing this is no longer dependent on whether I score PP, I feel good, I feel bad. Like, it's just removes all of that. So I can do it any day. Like, when the day comes up, I can consistently do it. When I'm running, I can do it consistently. I've already ran through a thunderstorm, which is unadvisable if you're in the field. So make sure like you run around like around trees and stuff. I mean, you shouldn't be running outside, but for me, I ran through a snowstorm. thunderstorm, not a like there wasn't lightning around. I will probably would be really hesitant, but it hasn't happened yet. Like super cold, like we're talking about -7 degrees Celsius, right? I obviously I'm speaking relatively. Here it's really below average to be -7 degrees Celsius. And then it got super hot already, so rain, shine, snow, whatever, I'm running. And I can still do it. And that's what you're asking yourself. That is the worth question of all time when it comes to lifestyle skills. Can you do it regularly? And your bottom line is so low that it won't stop you from doing it. There are very few things that will stop me. Like, for example, if there's a lightning storm and like I can hear lightning outside, okay, that might be my bottom line. I don't want to die. I don't want to get hit by lightning. That might be okay. That's kind of a disastrous bottom line. Or there's a blizzard outside and I literally can't lift my legs through the snow. That's kind of my bottom line for running. So for Osu, I can feel like absolute garbage, which I do feel like absolute garbage right now. Like my hands are not cooperating, but I still can come on and do the task. I'll get in my reps, I'll do my best, which is not quite true right now, but you know, I'll just continue to do it and it will not be an emotional burden to me or not. So what is that to you, right? When I ask people who are happy, like when I talk to people who are really happy, the first thing they often talk about are the things they don't really feel too excited about, but they also don't feel too negative about. It's something that they'll do unconditionally. What is that for people who are happy that I know? It's actually their jobs, actually. So whenever like younger people talk about like, I hate my job but I have to do it. Well, unfortunately, if you think you have to do it, the solution is to find how to get yourself to do it without the constant burden of negativity, right? So the happiest people, the more consistent people, at least the people around me, their jobs neither aggressively make them negative nor aggressively make them happy, but it's something they'll do unconditionally, and that's a lifestyle. Your job is part of your lifestyle. What I'm doing when I'm recording and all that is part of my lifestyle. Every single day I want to record something to remind myself that I'm telling myself this. So when we're having these conversations, I'm telling myself this too. Like if you ever have like the impression that the way I'm rehearsing might be me convincing myself what I believe in is true, it could be that way. I could be doing that. Like I actually believe in what I say, right? So hopefully maybe 5 years down the line when I look back and see myself today saying these things, some of it might not be true anymore. Some of them might hold up. I don't know, but that's the idea. I do not do things willy-nilly, but I try to by doing this. So if I didn't have recording or public showing and whatnot, I no longer have the element of uncontrolled life. And for those that don't feel like they have control of their life, it's super understandable that they don't want what I'm saying. So I wouldn't ever encourage someone, like if you're having social anxiety or like things that you feel you're overwhelmed with things you can't control, the last thing you want to do is to do something that you have even less control over. So one of the first steps to recovery is to distance yourself from that momentarily. So for example, one of the biggest pitfalls of Twitch is that Twitch has a fan base or has a community image of recruiting younger people. Like video gaming is still a young thing. Like it's still young forward, and then it's still male dominated. So a lot of times those people who use this to get their lifestyle, right? The lifestyle, like I'll do this because I like to do it. It's worth asking them or making sure that they understand that it is also potentially the source of their anxiety. And it's not saying what is better or worse. Like for example, you might be thinking now, it's like, well, most of the younger people say, oh, I stream because I'm less nervous, but I have to do this. I have to learn how to talk to people. So this is an easier way to talk to people. Yes, but it's not removing your social anxiety. It's introducing more social anxiety. The goal that they're trying to reach is they're trying to improve on something they have to do. So they're doing the thing that you're doing often where you lump it together. Like, is it better for you to be streaming and interacting with strangers or not at all to introduce the social, to improve on social anxieties? Well, the objective thing you could say is that not doing it at all will not trigger your social anxiety, but it will also not proactively improve when it happens. So the idea is that a lot of kids are using this format thinking it'll improve on their social anxiety, but they fail to know that what they're doing is introducing more social anxiety. It might be less than trying to like talk to your kid and like talk to your classmates IRL, but it doesn't remove anything. It adds to it. Like it's an extra stressor. So over time, a lot of people would say like, well, it removes the stress of this and this, and it feels like yeah, but you're adding stressors too. What are the alternatives? Well, they don't have any alternatives. So it's kind of the lesser of evils. This is a long digression, but generally speaking, Twitch has this oppositing problem where it attracts a specific segment of population that's struggling with something and is being accented by what they're advertising, their platform's advertising, but their platform isn't addressing some of the issues that are keeping their community healthy. So one thing that I watched for a lot are younger people thinking that they will become less stressed if they introduce stress in their life, which is not manageable. It's not typically manageable. If you're in a really bad place, you are going to fail by introducing more stressors to your life. So the failure rates of younger streamers, it's not necessarily due to Twitch. It's due to the mismanagement of what is actually stressing them and what isn't. So one of the common classical advice that a burned out young person would get from an adult or a specialist or someone who's licensed to treat like mental depression is that realization 1, burnout is self-induced. Burnout is not systemically induced. I mean, it is to some extent. Like the system may make you feel that way, But burnout is self-induced. It's like the ultimate thing is burnout is more the decision of the person. And there's a lack of alternatives, so they're not alternative seeking. And that the thing they love is the source of their mental depression. Because it's not properly managed. And it's not properly managed with the appropriate mindset that works for them. You mean getting in stress within doesn't necessarily negate the stress over time? It negates the stress over time, but you're not improving the stress you already have. That's escapism. Escapism doesn't remove the stressors you already have. It doesn't improve the stressors you already have. You negate the stressors you literally introduce to yourself now. So for example, when someone becomes a streamer, it's not because they want to take on the stress of becoming a successful streamer. It's, I'm streaming because there are too many stressful things in my life. When you stream, those stressful things that are still stressing you in your life do not go away, nor do they improve. It's a fallacy. Like for example, hey, I'm gonna practice. I mean, it's a fallacy, but it may improve, but it's very minimal. Like it's not transferable. Like for example, hey, I gotta work on improving on interviews, right? Like I gotta learn how to get over the stress of interviews. Okay, well, I'll spend most of my time online talking to strangers so that it will help me with interviews. Yes and no. You'll probably get like a noticeable slight increase in talking, but the activity is far from the difference. It's like two different disciplines. So I believe in transferable skills. I'm all about it, like maximizing your transferable skills. Like right now I'm rehearsing and talking and instructing, which is practicing my teaching skills. But I still had to do this task to be able to improve at this task. So at some point, the goal is that the streamer who's running from their stressors, the streamer, right, who's running away from their stressors will eventually have to come back around to address the stressor. The downside of this is escapism is dangerous. I'm calling it escapism. I'm not sure if other people call it escapism. But the thing is, escapism is running. It's running from a stressor momentarily to recover. So for example, you're in a really devastating situation. You can't handle it. Life really sucks. I'm going to escape. As in, I'm going to temporarily lift myself up, put myself in a situation where I can no longer see those stressors, so I can recover. I can recover like a vacation. I can recover, and then I will look forward to going back and working on those stressors. But escapism can be dangerous. You may never go back. You may actually end up avoiding it so long that it becomes so hard to go back and address those things. Not only that, you often choose a form of escape that introduces new stressors. How does that fit into our narrative? Streamers. The vast majority of streamers in the Twitch community, in my opinion, originally did it to escape something. But they escaped with something with new problems. What are those new problems? Well, viewership, subscriptions, oh no, now, and then, you know, like, becoming popular, all that stuff becoming better, becoming good, learning even more skills that they are already struggling to learn skills already, and then suddenly, you hope all that works out, and then it doesn't. Statistically, it just doesn't, because you're stressed, You don't exercise good self-care. So you're expecting yourself to take on new skills. But now, while that's failing, all the old stressors that you had comes back and say, hey, guess what? You need to deal with us now. Where's that job that you took break from? Where's that? So the idea is, the first advice, typically, at least I'm not a professional, I don't have clients or anything. The first one is to try to find moderation. You could focus on self-awareness first, become acceptant of what you're doing, and then work from there, and then try to like redistribute the stressors. For example, how can we make streaming address the stressors you're running away from? So in that way, at least what you're doing unconditionally, like you want to stream, you can use that time to actively work on things you're running away from. That'll make it beneficial. And even just that 5% and stuff, it's still transferable. But a lot of the people are literally just like completely ignoring it altogether. Like a good example is, hey, life sucks. I'm always being told what I should be or should not be. My parents are up in my case. Like I need to like get a job and stuff. And it's like, so I'm going to stream and I'm just going to show you that I don't care about what other people say. It's just me. Like I get to stream because it makes me not care about anything, what other people tell me that I should or should not be doing, or I shouldn't be listening to them. That's blocking out everything that you're stressed about and starting a new thing. Well, when you start a new thing, you get good things and then you get new stressors. So you add that stressors on top of all the things you're ignoring. The moment this thing fails, which will likely fail because you have been unable to do it in the first place, it's gonna double on itself, and you will, like, the odds are that person will collapse and it will lead to a burnout. Basically the burnout that most people are talking about. Too much obligations flowing back, and then all these real life things comes in. Like for example, even the most successful Twitch streamers, I'm so happy that they were strong enough to get over it though, like work it out. But when their career took off, they focused on these stressors. They got big, and then burnout hits because all the other stressors that weren't there yet come back on top. But those guys like became old enough, they got enough experience, and those people managed to address all the real life stuff. Every burnout video that you think about is like, hey guys, I gotta step away from content creation for a while. I forgot about my real life. I forgot about all the things that I ran away from, or like they didn't necessarily ran away as a negative. They just wanted to put it on pause. It comes back. They have to address that. So it's great to see those rare people be able to be like, I'm really successful now that I have resources. All the stuff I placed on pause at that time comes back and I get to refocus. That's great for all the low percentage of success stories, right? Everyone else didn't make it. All that stress comes back and pile it on every single stress that they had. And one big stressor is when you commit to something and it fails, you can't help but feel you lost all that time. All that time is gone, and that stressor cannot be negated. Like what I mean is, in that moment for that person, it is very, very difficult to help that person through a process of dealing and negating, or it's not really negating anymore, it's more compensating. So like finding conciliation for that time, making meaning of that time is the first step, in my opinion. It's one of the first steps to recovery. Understanding that it's a life lesson, it's a learning lesson. And that's kind of the huge digression, but it's one of the probably the biggest talking points in that would be facing most, if not the vast majority of Twitch streamers these days. Like adding stress is not generally sustainable. So you're substituting stress. You're not negating stress, is what I mean. So negating would mean removing a stressor that already exists. When you start a streaming career, you are gaining stressors. And then you have to work your way to negate the new stressors. It doesn't address any of the old ones yet, but it can be used to address the old stressors. But generally speaking, I have yet to witness this happen naturally or intuitively. So what's a great solution for this? Or like, what's a encouraging, proactive way? I don't know. If Twitch incentivizes taking breaks, if Twitch involves a infrastructure that allows streamers to not constantly have to do those things over again, like, oh, hey, Twitch has a new system. They said like, hey, if you stream 6 days, they'll advertise you on the 7th day so that you can take off, or like you can, you know, not take a vacation. So there are proactive ways to, in the long run, will help Twitch, in my opinion, because the community that represents the Twitch platform will be healthier overall. So what does healthier overall Twitch community show? When someone comes in, they see like, dude, Twitch is awesome. Like 98% of their streamers are like freaking sunshine and rainbows. And they always talk about how awesome Twitch is. Like they even get revenue when they get 1 week's vacation or something. That's how it works, right? That's how models work. Happy workforce, quote unquote workforce or system, will attract more and more business and grow even further. So right now, the downward spiral is indirectly dealing with Twitch's inability to introduce features that help the livelihood of where their money is. Their money is viewership, but it's not attracting viewership if most of the people who are attracting viewership are just strung out, burned out, stressed out, and they don't even know. And I'm not trying my hardest not to blame the victim. The victim is unaware. They're driving themselves. They, like you have young people. They don't know in 3 years' time they're probably gonna be treading in their same place, and it's because not necessarily the lacking of foresight or knowledge, is that they're inexperienced. So, what part is it the responsibility of the platform to recognize that? It's like, oh yeah, you guys are making us money, but we see that most of our community is unhealthy. Like it's most of 80% of streamers are mentally struggling in all its ways. And right now I've been doing the whole like moving stuff between YouTube and stuff, just using YouTube Studio's platform, like just using that, you can already see like, oh man, I can do this and I don't even have to worry about that. It's like, oh dang, this thing is auto-generated for me. Heck yeah, I'm gonna post way more videos now because these features are here. It's like, man, I don't have to edit this. Wait, I don't have to post this over here. I don't have to cross post over here. That's what's creating a healthier community. And when the healthier community goes up, it attracts everyone else who wants to be part of a very popular and like a positive community. Right now, if you go, I mean, this is a great social experiment. Go to any popular section channel, right? Go to the top 30. scroll down to like maybe the bottom half, click on it, and statistically pull out a spreadsheet and evaluate the appearance of their mood or the appearance of their legacy, like what they're doing. Generally speaking, compared to the 1% or 2%, there's very little things to be happy about in the 1%. Now, this is different from someone who's putting on a brave face or putting on like, I'm happy now in this zone, in this streaming zone. But if you ask them directly, like, so what do you do when the stream's off? Like when you stop streaming? And the first thing, probably the likely thing they're gonna emphasize is how they can't stream all the time because they love it. That means they don't have a lifestyle that they look forward to. What I mean is, if streaming is the thing they live for, what do they do the rest of the time? Do they look forward to eating? Do they look forward to sleeping, walking, talking with family? No, they don't. Usually they don't. And for younger kids who are glued to streaming, which is basically glued to a future career or a future work, right? A potential job. I can earnestly tell you, in my personal experience, growing up, being married to your career brings back all the stressors that will collapse on your life the moment that career is too much for you. And then you realize you've placed your rest of your entire life, which makes up technically 90% of your rest of life, you just pretended like it's not a problem. And this, for me, happened well before the internet age. I was glued to my career and I burned out. I burned like a blazing supernova and everything come collapsing back down. So I've been through this cycle, but if someone were to look at my career or like whatnot, they wouldn't see that. They wouldn't see that as a person because you don't share that thing. Like, you don't share these types of things online. It's not a normal thing. It's being normalized now though, like the awareness, and then platforms are being held responsible, which I find it really admirable. Like, I'm not saying YouTube is a criminal or Google is a criminal or like Twitch, Amazon. It's just, it takes time to normalize these things. There are issues with now people self-employing themselves to a platform as opposed to being hired to do something. It's just a new frontier, and who gets responsibility is kind of hard. But in the long run, in my opinion, companies like YouTube or Google, who own YouTube, the YouTube sector, they're still going out of their way to get a net positive each year on the community that they have that's getting the money. Any net positive for that community that's getting money is going to get more community that is going to get more money for them. So investing forward, that's what made Bezos a billionaire. He invested forward on Amazon. It was about getting the customers happy and loyal and the foundation of the workforce. But now, you know, it goes up and down, but that's how Amazon was uplifted. They focused on making the company attractive, the platform attractive. And I hope Twitch works on that, in my opinion. There's a new feature that came out that I thought it was a great idea. It's odd that it took this long. And the new feature, you'll probably see it sometime. At least for me, it's going to be another 4 months? 5 months. It's Twitch offering incentives for streamers' actual anniversaries. That is incredible. I don't remember the last time where I saw a feature that is just a bonus. It can't be a detraction. So like stream anniversaries are a thing. That's fantastic. And I hope Twitch continues to like roll with that type of idea, like making it celebratory instead of, oh hey guys, don't forget my I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to advertise and tell you about my stream anniversary this year and whatnot. It's like that makes one feel guilty. It's guilt all around. It's like guilt tripping all around. But if the Twitch platform supports it and normalizes it, everyone has access to that, and that's great. So I hope they continue to do something like that. But this as a solicitation, like a slight digression, I finally spent 1 year recording on Twitch, and now I'm finally ready to like do all the things that I planned for over 4 years on YouTube, and we're gonna see how that works out in the next year. Like I'll probably be revisiting it next May, but the idea is it only took me 3 days, just 3 days, to appreciate everything that YouTube offers as a platform to any content creator. Like not even a content creator, any casual person, any person who wants to share memories. It's like it does 90% of everything else that most viewers do not see, or no one who's aware, who's not a content creator, that don't see. It is absolutely convenient. It's unbelievable how convenient. It's to the point where I almost thought, I'm streaming here, I'm recording this, but I don't even have to do that. I could just go live on YouTube and it would just go to that channel. It'll record everything. It'll even highlight everything. Heck, I could even do all those automated things while live streaming on YouTube. So it's so hard to not be worried about most people who stream on Twitch. And what I mean by that is anyone who's like not the 1%, where you just tell them like, it's hard to know if this platform supports you in the long run. They have no indication that they introduce features that benefit the lifestyles of the streamers, not the 1%. They keep doing the 1% thing. Introduce features that benefit 80 to 90% of the rest of the streamers, like promote their well-being so that they could be happy and sunshine and rainbows and make Twitch more money, so that they attract more people who are happy and great and stuff, right? So all these lack of features is kind of getting me worried. And for me, this is a social experiment. I enjoy this, but objectively speaking, it's not even a subjective talking point. For every one feature that Twitch has that's proactively positive to the health of the content creator, there are like 5. Like, if I had to tell someone, would you give up your subscription, like having to do the convenient, like, oh, I subscribe to you, give you money for everything YouTube has to offer, but not that feature because YouTube's still working on that feature? Do it now. Just being able to record, cut, edit. You don't even have to be an editor. Like they cut out so much of the process. So to the point where, if you need to network or find opportunities and stuff, actually YouTube has already done some of that towards you. Like they're already proactively helping you. It's kind of like what Stream Elements and Streamlabs try to do, where they keep getting more companies invested and then they indirectly pass down those advertisements and like sponsorships to the people. But YouTube does it non-discriminately. So it's fantastic. And when I mean by non-discriminately, I mean outside of all the moderation that you have to deal with to secure revenue to support the content creators. It doesn't do a 1% trick on you. It doesn't do a this is what's highlighted. And I'm not saying Twitch is not trying to do this. Twitch is definitely trying to do this. Like, they're trying to distribute and create discoverability and stuff. It's a hard task. It's just right now, it only took me 3 days to circumvent my experiences of 4+ years. I'm going on 5 years of all the tools. I've experimented with all the tools on Twitch. 5 years. It only took 3 days to demonstrate how proactive YouTube is. So it's tough, but the bottom line is, and here's the bottom line, to distract, to not play into like which one's better, right? Worm, you're probably gonna, one of the questions that someone would ask me is like, which one's better? Like, should I start on YouTube or Twitch? But is this gonna be a lifestyle for you? If the answer is a lifestyle, I go back to my golden principle. Why not both? If you can handle both, do both. And then someone says, but what about Twitter? It's like, why not all three? If you can't do all three, pick the 2 of the best. Or like the 2 that balance. It's not about being better. It's about all of the above. If it's not a lifestyle and you're like competing with someone, like for example, you started Twitch streaming because you want to be more popular than, I don't know, one of the 1%. Then yeah, you focus on Twitch. That you already answered your own question. If you want to compete someone on Twitch, you go on Twitch. But if you're looking for a lifestyle, a career is your lifestyle. Yeah, it is. Discoverability, it's a really long digression on YouTube. But Twitch is trying. I think Twitch is working on that. But it is way far behind when it compares to YouTube. But it's not because Twitch, it's not from a lack of trying. So Twitch is just need to take a different approach because discoverability is selective on Twitch. Like the subject matter is very selective. It's very enriched for a specific group. So they have a different obstacle. So it's apples and oranges again. That's what I mean by which is better. I'm not saying I appreciate a lot of features on YouTube. I'm not saying that those features belong on Twitch too. That's a different story. The idea is I'm comparing and contrasting what exists on YouTube and what exists on Twitch. I'm not suggesting one is better than the other. So in terms of discoverability, it's fair to say that discoverability is high on YouTube, but not because what people would say like, oh, you have all these features and it's no. There's a larger variety of people, subject matter. YouTube's platform includes more different types of people. When a community inhabits more people, more different types of people, discoverability goes up. There's a higher chance that someone who's uninitiated will find something interesting about YouTube compared to Twitch. Twitch is still and foremost a live service, like a live entertainment service. And what you can do live in the entertainment service is also selectively gaming related. So here's the thing. What are the chances if YouTube has everything, including gaming, and a platform that has either live entertainment or gaming, which one would have a higher chance of being discovered out of interest? It would be YouTube. So statistically and objectively, it checks out. Now, how do we increase the discoverability within Twitch? Like, what I mean is, how do we increase Twitch's discoverability from where it is? That's a not apples to orange comparison. So what I can praise Twitch for is that discoverability has gone up on Twitch over the past. Discoverability with Twitch from previous has improved. One thing you can compare with, though, YouTube's discoverability has increased too, like incredibly from its previous standpoint. In fact, probably even more than Twitch, because they keep doing it faster, keep doing more. Now, there are resource limitations and stuff, so we don't want to go into like apples and oranges comparison too much. But the idea is, what's working for YouTube is probably not going to work for Twitch. But the idea is, are they working on something? Are there indicators that they are? And that's kind of what I'm trying to highlight. Twitch is actively working on things. YouTube is too. Just some of the tools make you feel... There are more tools on YouTube that make you feel... We know, like us, YouTube, as the organization, we know what you want. Like, we're working on all the things that you want. Like, hey, I heard that you don't want to... You want all your videos to sort out properly because you're spending your time editing and uploading tons of videos. How do we make that convenient for you? Because we're a search engine kind of mentality. We know that you guys need to load thousands of videos, and we want you to load millions of videos, because the more videos we have, the more our discoverability goes up and the more money we make. So how do we make that easier for you? On Twitch's end, it's like, what was the last quality of life change that happened for Twitch? There wasn't any that I can remember. They removed some quality of life features that are not lucrative to them. So you feel less and less inclined to believe that Twitch has your quality of life in mind. YouTube, even for YouTube, is like privileged people complaining about features that can't be possible, but they are trying their best. Like, for example, asking people not to swear in the beginning of their videos so that they can secure more funding so that those people can make more money. It's like, yeah, you're giving up something, but at least you're not giving up, hey, how about we just strip you of all your revenue and then make sure only the top performers get money, so that those top performers are the reason why it attracts people to the platform. So like, for example, a lot of things in life for kids, for younger people, that attract things is a role model or a model of example. The unfortunate part is that example that's being represented is disproportionately hyperbolic. So, for example, some people might say, I started YouTube because I noticed that there are millionaires who make millions of dollars on YouTube. So sure, you can get away. Hopefully you make it, buddy. Hopefully you make it. That's not a lifestyle approach. That is a competition. This is a competitive guy. Hopefully that person is competitive enough to make it. For the vast majority of people, they're looking for a lifestyle change. When you think about a lifestyle change, you play the odds. You play for consistency. So who is representing YouTube? Millions of people, different people, casuals, production, all of them are sustainable now. So to the point where, hey, I'm a woodworker. Can I succeed on this platform with realistic goals and realistic production value? Well, I'm more likely to find that on YouTube. On Twitch, what are your who's drawing people to Twitch? All the extraordinary people, all the 1%ers. most of the vast majority of people who are being pulled to Twitch are all encouraged based on the overrepresentation of the 1%ers. That can work for business. So Twitch can stay afloat by emphasizing that. Like all the 1%ers and like constantly, the business will work. What's a great example of that? Automobiles, boutiques, designer wear. There's a market for it. It's sustainable, but it's not going to be popular. So if you want Twitch to be popular, which I don't think Twitch has ever came out and say our goal is to be popular or more popular than YouTube. So their goal is probably to turn over a profit, sustainability. So you can do that. You can be a boutique. Twitch is the gaming boutique of really extraordinary live entertainers. I'm not one of them. That's why I am not successful. That's it. Like, I accept that. I came on Twitch knowing I am not a sensationalist. I am not extraordinary. So I am not one of those people who come on Twitch thinking I will become popular if I work on it. That's just not what's going to happen on Twitch. You're either the best and you go in knowing you are the best and execute, or you don't, you're gonna struggle. And what that does is it helps you ground your expectations and you spread out. Do YouTube and Twitch if you're not an extraordinary person, because it's both. On YouTube, it's not necessarily, it's a little bit more complicated. It's not about extraordinary things. What are the most popular people are not the most extraordinary people in specialization. They are generalized lifestyle people. Generalized lifestyle people who do things for a lifestyle is gold, because they don't burn out. It's part of their lives. They love doing it. It's different from being passionate about something. Passion burns out. And I know passion and love tends to go hand in hand, but there's love with passion, and then there's love with commitment. And passion burns out. Like, you might not love it. Passion eventually fades, and you hope to learn to integrate it into your life. On Twitch, it's not a lifestyle, in my opinion, but people constantly treat it like a lifestyle. On Twitch, it's not sustainable. The people who bridge both these platforms, Twitch is for an event. YouTube is a lifestyle. It doesn't go along with the demand. Yeah, there's just no. But really though, YouTube, without a doubt, I'm going to say that YouTube is biased for someone like me. So that's why it's not a surprise that it took me 3 days to want to just wholeheartedly be a YouTube shill right away. Having experienced over 5 years, getting close to 5 years of Twitch. But at the same time, I wouldn't substitute that. I want the experience of Twitch and YouTube. So I want to do both just as a social experiment for myself. But ultimately, in a fraction, we're gonna see if this is true in another year's time. So in May 2024, I could be dead wrong. Something catastrophic could happen. I don't know, my whole life goes down a poo shoot. It could happen. All these things happen. But I can guarantee you, in my opinion, I would say, not guarantee, I would say 85%. In 1 year's time, if Twitch does not change the trajectory of whatever they're doing in advertising, it is realistic, acceptable, and I should be happy to know that I know this, like I'd be aware of this, that I will be no different in my status, very minimally different, in another year's time, continuing to do this on Twitch. But in 2024, that YouTube channel is going to do way better. than what I've done in over 5 years on Twitch. It's just selectively, that's what a type of person I am. I'm not a compartmentalist. I don't focus on one thing. I have no extraordinary drive to keep doing the same thing over and over again with the expectation of improving on that one task. Like, I don't do this because I want to get good. I do this because it's healthy for me. I do this because I enjoy this. I don't do this to get good. Twitch, you know, all those people who say like, oh, you know, I do this for fun. I don't do this to get good. It's like, no, you're not going to succeed on Twitch. And you might be thinking, but what about all the other variety streamers? Like, they're the 1%ers. They have legacy. The founder effect solidifies legacy. You have to catch up to the founder effects. How are you going to be able to do that when you catch up to the legacy of the founder effect? You can't. You're 2 years behind, and when you start now, you'll continue to be 2 years behind. So you stream to get good. Hey, son. Yeah, Coffers came out of retirement. Funnily enough, I know someone else who also streamed with a lot of effort and didn't really get anywhere. Started doing YouTube more so and sustain. Yeah. And that's where I want, and that's what I want for that's what I want for Twitch and YouTube, Worm. Like, the one thing I want, in my opinion, for all the little good people, goobers out there, and then all the old folks that are on YouTube, older folks, is that both the organizations communicate that idea. Like, hey, we don't want to bait and switch you to believing that being average on YouTube, on Twitch, is going to get you somewhere. We want you, if you want to join our platform, hey, you got to make sure you're these things, all these things, so that we don't see you get hurt and then it blows back on us. So all this negativity that's building up, and comparing the two platforms, they're just two different platforms. The downside is the company is capitalizing on something, but they're not communicating what they're looking for. When you go to an employer, which technically this is the first time there's self-employed employment onto a platform, when you go to an employer, they tell you up front what they're looking for. This is Wild Wild West, but it's established by those who have experience. But those people who have experience don't usually communicate this. They don't have time for it. They're busy being successful. But on Twitch, extraordinary. You have to be extraordinary. You have to be specializing in something. And you go get it. If you're here saying, oh, you know, sure, I can play whatever I want. It's fine. Like, I don't have to get good. I can be a variety streamer. Like, it's like, well, if you're not legacy, so if you're not already successful in 1%, you have no advertisement or like appearance or discoverability to make yourself stand out. So if you're a lifestyle streamer, you're gonna get buried by 1%. And all the features that Twitch focuses on are to prop that competition. So one could even say YouTube is the softer lifestyle, Twitch is the harder lifestyle. Which lifestyle do you want? Do you want the hyper competitive one or the variety one? So the idea here is, I hope in the future, in my opinion, that Twitch decides to continue to implement features that support their philosophy or the platform's philosophy, but also communicate it. So like, for example, hey, we introduced this new, here's a quality of life feature that was introduced just recently, the research tab, which it tells you on the research tab, what it does is it tells you the viewership distribution across the entire days, all the days of the game or the thing, the category that you were in recently. And it's supposed to advise you on like when to stream and stuff, right? But you see that feature, right? It tells you where you optimally want to poach viewership from someone else, where you can actively be more competitive in that category with someone else. What does that look like on YouTube? Hey guys, so this content is really hot. What if I make more content like that? It's like, okay, well, I mean, people will view it because that content's hot. They're gonna go through all of it. So you join in the win-win. You're not trying to compete for that limited resource. Eventually, people will need new content in that category. So when people say, what YouTube's algorithm does, like the stuff in the studio, is like, you know, this is really hot right now. Oh, your video, this stuff, you're getting a lot of impressions. You should make some more of this video. It's no longer about you stealing or competing for other people's viewership. It's in YouTube, they just tell you what you're doing that works. And then, hey, you should consider doing more of this. Like, and then you just, so what do? You try many things. You just keep trying many things. Eventually, the YouTube features will just tell you, hey, you know, this is the GOAT. It doesn't even concern anyone else. It's like, you look at the stuff, it's like, guys, people really like this. Like when you go on your studio, it'll tell you systematically, break down everything and say, yeah, you know, there's a lot of comments on this. You might want to pay attention to this. Like, this is good. Like, this is what you're doing that's helping you. Every Twitch feature just tells you, this is how you're doing compared to other people. Like every new Twitch feature. The old ones, like the analytics, it doesn't, they're like kind of irrelevant in my opinion. They're more like the basic bare bones that it was inherited from YouTube. But the new features are constantly focused on competition. If you're a competitive person, you might cut it on Twitch. If you're looking for a lifestyle, which I am, YouTube is the place. But why am I on Twitch right now talking about this? Is because I don't have to be competitive. I'm not in it to win it. So I just choose Twitch just to like join in the experimentation. I don't need to win this to succeed. I already have a lifestyle. Twitch is not part of my lifestyle, technically. Like, I'm not using it as to prop up my lifestyle. My lifestyle is like the rest of my life, right? But YouTube could. In 3 days, I could see myself just doing everything I normally do. I could do it on YouTube. And it will literally make my life better. Well, you see, here's the thing about emotes, right? Emotes is a form of competition too. And you don't even need that on YouTube. In fact, you don't even need to be there on YouTube. You do something and that's it. You're never present. You don't even have to be present. So that's a lifestyle flexibility. On Twitch, I don't think Twitch is rewarding content creators proportionately to how much of their life is consumed by being on Twitch. Like, for example, YouTube, you make it, you go, it will continue to like flourish. Like, the more content you make, the harder you work, the more you sample, the constant learning, it only benefits you with one very, very big asterisk. As long as you're moderately agreeable, right? You have to be caring about other people, right? You have to be compassionate. So as long as your content is compassionate, The more you make, the higher your chances get. On Twitch, you can go up, you can go down, you can start somewhere, you can end up below where you started. YouTube has a bottom. That's it. When you start, that's your bottom. You don't ever get lower than your bottom. You can't negatively impact your life. Competition does that. Competition is you're in relative to everyone else. So when someone else does better, your position gets lower. The more people exceed you, which is like OSU, right? We have to bring it back to OSU. The OSU ranking system is not a ranking system based on individualized completion. It is a ranking system based on ELO, MMR. So when you say, oh, I improved because I went up in rank, well, technically yes. Or like, technically yes, but you don't know. Because it's not a standardized metric. Like, you're not comparing yourself to your sub when you say that. You're comparing yourself to someone else. It's a safe situation to say yes, if your rank goes up, you're improving. But if everyone else is improving at a fixed rate, you can still improve without going up in rank. You can actually still improve while dropping in rank. YouTube, that's not how YouTube works. But that is how Twitch works. And guess what? Big brain, I'll make this a hot take and a digression for next time. There's a reason why OSU has a bigger scene on Twitch than it has on YouTube. Just saying. Because YouTube is not concerned about comparing apples and oranges. Twitch is. Twitch is constantly comparing apples and oranges. It is a competitive platform. YouTube is not in a direct competitive platform. It's in a generalist platform. The more variety you can do, the more likely everyone's gonna come in. So like the more skills you have, the more crazy things you do, like your life, the fuller you are as a dynamic human being. There's more chances on YouTube. Yes and no. DMCA is not worse is a subjective term. DMCA is absolutely clearer and streamlined on YouTube compared to Twitch. Twitch has one of the worst DMCA policies ever. Because you get nailed for DMCA and you can't even filter your videos, highlights, or anything, or mute it, or even private it and publicly accessible and sort it to address DMCA. On YouTube, you're talking about it's stricter. There are less things allowed on YouTube. But YouTube tells you all of that in advance with minimal effort. Like, it is so easy. Like, I just uploaded 360 videos on YouTube. And all I had to do was click one button, and every single one of those things tell me if there's a copyright thing on there. And then it tells me if the owner of that copyright said it's okay to be on YouTube. That already took, like, I spent hours sorting OSU stuff on Twitch. But at least I know when to tell people, hey, can't do this part, can't do this part. And guess what? YouTube is liable for that. So when something goes wrong and like people get their, I don't know, copyright claims and stuff, they have to deal with it. They have to like, hey, we got to do new rules so that you don't get blindsided. They bite the bullet, get comments like what Sun said, like they're worse on YouTube. They're not. They're really, really good on YouTube because you never get, they're trying their hardest to take blame and liability for other people's inconvenience. On Twitch, it's like, hey dude, we gotta take down your clip. Like, there's a copyright strike, but we have, it's like, which clip? I don't even know. I look through, it's like, oh no, now I permanently have one copyright strike. I can't even appeal it. Like, what do you do? It's like, I'm not a 1%er. I can't get into contact with Twitch staff. It's like, well, you're just screwed. So I'd rather know in advance with clear-cut rules being stricter. And of all the people, right, being strict is a consistency issue. Twitch doesn't have any of those quality of life. In fact, it is so hard to switch. What I mean is, it's so hard to sort out. Like right now, my biggest gripe is I have over 400 videos that I'm trying to organize into a very great way that doesn't even serve a purpose. Because like Twitch does not award people for being organized, consistent lifestyle people who produces content, sorts them out, and they're not even searchable. Like even on my end, like for a viewer to say, oh, you have other videos, like, can I see them? To a streamer, it's like, well, there's no point. I know you want to see more, but there's no point in looking at them. But I did sort them out for you. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to be really hard to find those videos. And guess what? It's no easier for the creator. The creator has to flip through like 18 pages back and forth, and you can only like edit one at a time and not edit one at a time, and you can only edit in a specific scene and not a specific scene. And then it took me like hours to replicate the extra step, where it took me like seconds on YouTube. And the whole time I was like, oh, what about copyright and stuff? It's like, it's all on one column. Like you just look at it and then you mouse over and it's like, oh yeah, we got the okay. It won't affect your channel. It won't affect your video because the creator of that copyrighted material said that, yeah, I'm okay with it being on YouTube. So none of that is on Twitch, and Twitch is still playing catch up. In fact, the whole copyright strike thing and the copyright section was added within the last year because of 2 years ago and 3 years ago, that huge copyright problem. This idea that you climb in rank is basically means like, yeah, so here's the thing. A relative system is great for competitive improvements. It does not inform you about the standards. The standards are a moving target. So it can hurt people as well as encourage people. When you have a standardized target, it can only bottom line or improve. So for example, running a mile in 10 minutes, that is a standard. Like, those numbers are not going to change. It's 10 minutes, 1 mile. If you run 9.5 minute mile, that's 30 seconds better than 10 minutes. If you run 9 minutes, but in a ranking system, like in MMR ranking system, the target changes. So when you feel like you've improved, it may not feel, you might not know how you improve, what you improve, what it means, because it's relative to the entire group of people. So what you said is correct. It is accurately saying you have improved faster than other people dependent on what the system is ranking. It does not help you say any other skill that the system doesn't systematically favor. So for example, on Twitch, hey, you got more viewership, right? You got more viewership, and then you lost viewership. It's like, hey, I don't understand. Why did my viewership go down? It's like, well, compared to all the other people on Twitch, whatever you were doing, you're not improving faster than the other people around you. The ranking system supports the other people. It's like, but you know, I made more content. I got better at this game. I got better at production. It's like, the ranking system doesn't favor that. The viewership doesn't favor that. You improved, but you did not improve in a meaningful way that the ranking system supports. And the ranking system is based on viewership. So even if we cross all the dots and the T's with all the processes, which we don't know, the ranking system, since it's not standardized, you don't know. You don't know what the ranking system is based on. It doesn't work that way. What does YouTube do in terms of their metrics? They tell you, hey, your video has 0 views today. Now all your videos have 10 views today. That is 10 more than 0. Tomorrow you have 36. It's a legacy system. It's standardized where the bottom line is at 0. You know where your starting point is and where your current point is from your starting point. You do not know that in a relative unstandardized ranking system. And here's one that drives people nuts, but this is why it exists. In Hearthstone, when you play Battleground, there is an invisible MMR that most people are aware of. That is Osu's ranking system. And then there's the one that shows up on your screen, and that is your effective rating system. And that effective rating system tells you where you are in that season starting at 0. So when I get to 6,000 every season, I know that I've accomplished a task of going from 0 to 6,000 relative to my sub every single season. What I do know is, though, I play way above a 6,000 rated player in Battlegrounds because I have legacy. But the thing is, that's not what Hearthstone choose to display. They displayed the one thing that makes it more attractive and encouraging to their platform, to their game. If they showed an MMR system, it will make it competitive. And if they favor that MMR system, it could destroy their bottom line. You get more people that didn't get better at the game. So that's what Sun said. That can happen in a relative system. And then you start wondering, well, what does rank mean then? It's exactly what Worm said. That's what Osu means in ranking system. You can say that about yourself. You have improved faster than other people getting PP based on what the ranking system is weighing. That's all that it means. It doesn't mean if you got healthier, you got happier, you got more consistent, you stopped choking more. It doesn't say any of that. You actually have to measure all those things. Did any player actually measure those things? No, they didn't. In my opinion, the vast majority of players feel out that stuff. They're like, oh, I think I choked more. Oh, I think I choked less. I think I feel better now. It's like, well, yeah, you can feel all you want. It's still not a standardized, objective way of measuring something. I mean, today's run felt like my run today, my 6-month run today, felt like garbage. Like, I felt really terrible, and it's my second fastest time. So, that, like, I understand feelings, but feelings are the end game. So if you feel good, I don't, in my opinion, to attract into a game, getting dumpstered by a ranking system because you finally feel good is what I'm more concerned about than those people who feel good for being good and also get rewarded for a ranking system. The fairness of a ranking system is to try to accommodate the feeling that everyone gets an accurate measure of their feelings. And that is ridiculous. That's a ridiculous goal. But that's what competitive systems do. They're trying to be accurate for most of the people. So when someone feels like they're improving, their rank reflects that relative to the pool. Where does this apply all the time? Basketball, baseball, disc golf. All those rating systems are trying to get as close as possible where when someone says they're underperforming, their rank should be going down. That's kind of the idea. But it's not great for business, in my opinion. Like overall, if you get stuck in the short end of the stick, you're more like a YouTuber. That will find a happy life on YouTube. But if you're like on a competitive edge, this is for you. Like MMR is for you. The competition drives you. And that's what the Twitch platform is. You are competing with other people. And I don't want to sound like doom or die or go and have the 1% attack me. But you are not, as a content creator on Twitch, you're not here to network or make friends. You're here to compete and make rivals. Rivals can be friends technically. So what I mean is you're looking for frenemies. You're looking for people who push each other. You're looking for bros in the gym. You're looking for people who drive you each other to keep on doing more. On YouTube, it's people on a coffee table talking about their own stories. They're non-competitive with each other. They're like, hey, that's a great idea. You mind if I collaborate with you so we can put our own spin on each other? What's the highest rate of viewership on YouTube right now? Collaboration. YouTube Shorts? Collaboration. There's like the most popular YouTube Shorts and YouTube videos that are on my feed that constantly, it's 2 or 3 people that I know and they decide to work together. Because no matter what, all of them are going to make more money. All of them are going to benefit from each other. When you collaborate on Twitch, you force the hand of your viewership to choose if you overlap or if you have similar goals or if you have anything really, because they have to choose. And that kind of unfortunate. I wouldn't want to force anyone to choose. So that's kind of the competitive nature. And it's not bad or good. It's not disagreeable or shameful or anything, in my opinion. It's the element of competitiveness. In a competition, there are going to be losers and there are going to be winners. And I don't mind being a loser because I understand that it's a competitive process. I actually don't mind losing if I know someone else is going to win. But on YouTube, I don't even have to make that decision. Whatever I learn on YouTube that works for YouTube, I'm going to tell everyone else. Whatever works on Twitch, most of the opportunists won't tell you what they have in mind. Yeah, YouTube is a non-competitive, it's far more non-competitive than Twitch is. So if anything, what is the #1 most trending type of YouTube content right now? The #1 most trending YouTube content is the hustle culture. And the hustle culture is content about making things super easy to do. Well, it's on it's on YouTube. It doesn't matter they keep giving away like, oh, this is what I did to be successful. Oh, I did this and this, because there's no competition for being the best. There's only competition for getting the word out. In fact, a lot of people's life hacks are the life hacks other life hackers posted. So everyone puts their spin on the same life hack with the same improvement. On Twitch, you want to be different. If you're doing the same thing that other person is doing, that a person is going to have to choose between who they like more. It's like, oh, I like your take more, so we're gonna hang out here. Like, we can't hang out in both. Guess what? Remember, Twitch removed concurrent viewership. You can't multi-view anymore. So it's no longer a I win, you win. We're best friends. Let's all stream together. Let's co-stream and then double our viewership because of concurrent viewerships. That's not that. It's singular. Singular. You might be thinking like, oh, but I have all these 4 tabs open. Only one person is supported. And even then, you don't support them. You have to committally support them. You can't support streamers with your time. I know how that sounds, but what I mean is the act of time. So being present doesn't support the content creator most of the time. Like, it makes like 1% of even the 1%ers financial gains or like sustainability. You have to be actively present, and it's disproportionately not rewarded. Like, the streamer has to be actively present. The viewer has to be actively present and financially invested. But the platform is disproportionately rewarding for that need for commitment. On YouTube, here's a great example. If I asked you guys, which I won't, but please don't do this. This is kind of really awkward. If I asked you guys to just turn on your computer and click on a playlist and just have it play in the background, all my metrics go up. If I asked you guys to put an emote comment on every single one of my YouTube videos, all my metrics go up. Imagine that level of commitment. But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Where is the Twitch portion of this? Is it part of the Twitch portion of this? Like, is Twitch wanting to do this? Right? Like, does Twitch want this? Does Twitch want a non-competitive? Is it part of the identity? And I don't think it is. But I hope they come up with something that promotes competitiveness. So what I mean is, for Twitch to not compete with YouTube and continue to thrive, I think I would support the idea of them making it cutthroat. So, like, for example, Sun is really good at this game. Keep enriching for that. Somehow, like, Twitch could invest in establishing a platform that allows people to announce global tournaments. Like, for example, Twitch can make a feature where there's an open announcement. It's like, okay, we're taking applications for all local organizers, tournaments, and then they will be slightly featured in a different category, active tournaments. And OSU could be one of them. So the biggest organizers on OSU will be like, we're going to compete for that. We're going to up our standards, and one of the best standard organizers of OSU are going to apply for that spot every month, and whoever gets the highest like backing gets a showcase in the category for tournaments on the Twitch platform. And every game will have one, will have a coveted spot. It will be a feature that the only thing you can gain is a spot, and that's based on being extraordinary. So then OSU as a community will fight for a spot on the Twitch's front page for tournament spotlights. Like, then all the game communities will be competing with each other for the coveted Twitch spot. That will embrace Twitch's community, the gaming community, the philosophy of Twitch's competitiveness, and it will be a positive. Like, it will generally be a positive. Like, if you lose, then you weren't good enough. But everyone here is competitive anyways. What I mean by everyone, I mean those who succeeded or continue to thrive under Twitch's philosophy of competitiveness. All the other casuals, what will they do? They will get the message. And what I mean by the message is, are you competitive enough for Twitch? If you are not, please, we're not trying to hold on to you and shackle you to a platform that's just gonna make you ache and get salty and get horrible. You can be shoved to YouTube. So while Twitch wants to keep those people still, you know, from a business standpoint, losing them could increase their reception, like their positive rating. They could become more positive over time because now their image is, we're gaming, live performance, cutthroat platform, and it's all about the gaming too. Like the gaming, like we're competitive people. Most gamers are on here because they like to compete. Like everyone is a cutthroat here, so we're not giving you any false sense of security. Like all the 50 to 60% people that say art is a competitive process because certain things are being used to outcompete the legitimate art form. Just saying, Josh. So it's way different from art on YouTube. So playing art or doing art on YouTube is a lifestyle thing. It's a lifestyle skill. In here, it's about who you can attract most with the type of art you make. So it's still, everything is competitive on this platform. My hot take is that Twitch is unintentionally bait and switching, or maybe it still take time. It's behind on communicating what makes the Twitch community unique, and it's cutthroat. It's being competitive. It's being good at things. Get good or lose it, and that's what makes you popular on Twitch. And you keep on fighting in a ranking system. So when your viewership goes down, it's because you aren't doing better than the other people. On YouTube, your metrics only go up. Like if your metric goes down, it means what you have made is not getting the same views that you've made previously. So you start, all the analytics are telling you, okay, well, these things have gone down, so you might not want to do these things anymore. Maybe you want to try something else. You're constantly fighting for your own legacy. You're comparing yourself to yourself. Whenever you look at the analytics, like, oh, hey, 100 more views, 1,000 more views. Like, great. I have another subscriber. It's like, oh, now my subscribers went down. I wonder what I can do about that. It's not about that. In Twitch, it's like, how am I doing compared to my other people? Because you're fighting for it. It's like, I need more viewership so I can get on top of the category that I stream. And then all the games you play, the most popular games are all ranked. Like, it goes without saying. The top categories of all the subgenre of games are competitive games. All the content that I make on Twitch will do better on YouTube. No one's going to talk about Deponio. No one's going to talk about tiny folks. There are more Yakuza streamers on YouTube as an inferior or later bloomer live content stream than here. And no one's going to help you with your mental health. Yes. Agreed. Substantially, if you have a Twitch streamer, if you encounter a Twitch streamer that focuses on mental health, they were a YouTuber first. They were either a professional outside of YouTube or a YouTuber first. And then they want to branch out into Twitch. I don't think I am even remotely aware of someone who did it the other way, where they said, oh yeah, Twitch is the platform for me to grow mental awareness or community so I can support it. No, it's someone who established a community and wants to use that community, that power they have, to help Twitch out. Because in a competitive environment, if you're weak, you get buried. It's not, you're so focused on yourself, there's no time to help others. And that's understandable. Like when you're running, if you're going to a competition, you're not worried about how well you're, maybe you might sometimes, but it's more the coach thing than someone who's not actively playing. You're worried about keeping patient, you know, performing, putting on your A game. If someone lost and broke down, generally speaking, in a competitive process, if you're freaking out, you have no time to worry about another person freaking out, right? So just being realistic. I mean, there's a time to cry about it afterwards and whatnot, but in a competitive process, it's really cutthroat. And that's why I want to emphasize that talking about mental health each day, doing digressions, talking about self-care on Twitch, it's not going to get you noticed. And if the person who's doing it is already noticed, they probably have a well-established platform on YouTube to do this, because it's not appropriate, generally speaking. In fact, I hope that's not true in the future. Like, what I mean is, all this is saying is what I'm currently observing. But in another year's time, it might be completely different. Maybe over time, the mental health crises that are on Twitch, specifically on Twitch, to be in all fairness, is gonna decrease. And you might be thinking, well, Twitch isn't the only one. Yeah, it isn't. Facebook is the other one. So is TikTok. And guess what they do? I don't know if you notice what model they have. They have a competitive model. Like, you're competing. Like on TikTok, you actually literally compete for a fixed amount of funding. So like there's like this glowing $2 million pool, and everyone fights for a piece of that $2 million pool. It's not scalar, where like if everyone makes more money, they all make more money. It's who makes the most impression gets the most money. On Facebook, what do? You try to up everyone else. It's about popularity, getting that karma, you know, like Reddit, getting that karma or getting those likes. And it's not that it's absent on YouTube. It's just, it's the platform that is the least competitive, as in non-competitive. You can still improve, thrive, compete with yourself in a non-competitive environment. What does that look like? Going out for a run, going for a walk, sitting down and meditating, eating food that you really, really love, but you shouldn't be eating, having a guilty pleasure, watching Netflix, entertaining yourself. Those are non-competitive things. And what does that sound like? Every single lifestyle choice you make is a non-competitive process. You're not telling yourself, I need to enjoy this food more than someone else. But if you're on Twitch and you're streaming it, you better be enjoying that food more than someone else, because you're gonna lose viewership. You better be cooking better than someone else, or you better be more entertaining in general than someone else, or else your lifestyle is gonna go down a poop chute. I can't even control my actions with my already existing neuron pathway and losing. Yeah. So here's my 2 cents. It's a long digression, and I'm just gonna end this. Today my hands are like just gone, so I need to rest. And I was thinking about stepping down again on this, but it's completely gone. So I might consider I'm gonna do 1 more week of this, and then take a 1 week or 2 week break. But anyways, to wrap like some of this stuff up, is you got to understand, if you are in a competitive process, and be willing to compete in it. Like, if the ones that succeed are the ones that know what they're getting themselves into, in my opinion, or know at least what they're willing to sacrifice. And for me, that's why I'm not angry about not being successful on Twitch. In fact, if I could, I don't have any videos from 3 years ago, right? Or from 4 years ago. I think day 2, when I was playing Dirt. I was playing Dirt 3, I'm pretty sure. And someone asked me, like, what do you plan on doing on Twitch? And to this day, I still say that same line. I'm doing this so I can remember that I did this. That's it. That's why I came on Twitch. Not one time in my 4 or 5 plus years of Twitch did I ever said, I think I can change this into a career. So that's kind of what I mean. Like, you got to know what you're getting yourself into. Because it can change though. Like, you could start off, you can have here's the thing that makes the 1%ers. So the founders effect. The founders effect is fantastic if you manage to be a founder. What do I consider a founder effect? Is you hit a trend before it trended. That is the founders effect. So what does that look like when people retrospectively look back on the founder effect? They will give you the thing, they'll give you the speech like, you know, 3 years ago, I never imagined I would have been doing this. But, you know, I took a chance. And at first, I thought I was just doing it out of sheer curiosity, and then it just took off. And then, you know, I rode the wave, and then it'll be in a video where they might be burning out. Be like, you know, now 6 years, I'm grateful for everything I've ever had, but I have to take a break. Like, we rode the good wave. That's the founders effect. And then when they come back, their careers are still locked in. It's the founders effect. But it shows in their mindset that it had a change of mindset. When you hit a founders effect, you did not expect for it to happen, but you expect a change. This is different for someone who gets a job. When they get a job, like outside of this untapped, non-standardized career of streaming, there are standards, and those standards create less of a founders effect because there's no founders effect. You're working for someone who has an established principle, established workplace, rules, regulations that you have to do. So what do? You got a bottom line and you only can go up. But you can't knock it out of the park because there's no founders. And you're not going to realistically change a lot really quickly. You're going to change refiningly. So when you do a job with an expected outcome and standardization, you'll get better over time, consistently. But you're not going to be like a different person at the end. Like, what I mean by that is you're not going to have the founders effect thing where it's like, oh yeah, I was burning so bright and then now I'm burnt out and I realized I put my entire life on hold and that type of thing. So you got to know what you're getting yourself into, right? So that's kind of the thing. And unfortunately, since the internet and all this stuff is new, most of the representatives are the founders. They are all susceptible to founders effect. There hasn't been one, and here's the thing, right? Maybe in the future there will be a YouTuber who decides, you know what, guys, I have to make this video. This video, no, I'm sorry, I'm not saying I should, but I'm like role playing. Guys, I have to make this video. Guess what? I never thought I would get 100 subscribers. I want to thank all my subscribers for helping me reach this position, right? Reach this position that I anticipated myself was that we met our 1 year goal. Thank you again. Until the next 100,000. And that'd be the end of it. Try to find a YouTuber right now who actually did that instead, where they don't see like, oh, I never could have imagined that I would have 100K subscribers. You guys are the best. I've never planned that this would happen. That's not how that works. Almost everything that's happened so far, it's a founder's effect, because there's no standards. You can't compare to standards. So how can you have expectations of where your career goes if there isn't a standard? When you get a job, like in a government agency, in 1 year's time, you're expecting a pay raise. In 2 years' time, you're expecting a pay raise. In 3 years' time, you're expecting a pay raise. Maybe in 4 years, you get a promotion. If not, you try again for a 5-year promotion. And then after 5 years, you're thinking about a career pivot to a higher position at somewhere else. All those are expected. You're literally preparing for those. In fact, you map them out as you're doing it. Even more deeper than that, the interviewers and interviewees would probably talk about 5-year plans. That's a literal question that you often have to encounter. What is your 5-year plan? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? In content creation, it's like, no, you don't. You don't see anything. If you do, boy howdy, you're in the wrong career, man. You are not in a career that will help you along the way. If you go into streaming thinking in 5 years you'll have 1 million subscribers, there's no standard that tells you you deserve 1 million subscribers for doing it for 5 years. Although Twitch's most recent thing is kind of neat. I like the Twitchiversary thing, the Streamiversary thing. That is doing something like that. It's like, hey, you should have the right to celebrate, to be given a little bit of a sticker and a cake for streaming for a whole year, right? Or maintaining something for a whole year. But it's so different from being competitive. You can suck the next year. If you're not on your A game, you don't deserve it. I get those 10%. Yeah, you gotta beat inflation. Cost of living increases. Minimum wage increases. Those are the standards. That's a consistent life. It's a lifestyle. So if you don't like to get a job, in a way, you are probably either hyper competitive with yourself and you hate yourself, or you're hyper competitive with everyone else in everything you do and you're depressed because there's not many things you like anyways. And I'm saying that with a grain of salt. The people that you hear about and get exposed to are going to probably belong in either of those categories, especially in a hyper competitive platform. So we're on Twitch right now, so everyone we talk to is a Twitch user. So the likelihood is you probably belong to those two. If I said something and it describes you, it's not a coincidence. It's actually conditional. It's very conditional. That you're either really competitive with yourself, so whenever you do something wrong, you become hyper embarrassed, or you're always constantly focused on progression. So if you're not one of those that are hyper competitive with yourself and hard on yourself, you're hyper competitive, relatively speaking, for everyone else, with everyone else and everything else you do, because you're on Twitch. This content attracts you. You like being here for this type of content. You are surrounded by people who are competitively oriented, and competitively oriented people don't care about things they don't care about. They care about things they care about. That might sound rough and might sound nonsensical, but what I'm talking about is competitive people hate things they don't care about. They're capable of hating things that they don't care about because they have to be hyper competitive and specialized in their opinion to make it in a competitive spirit. So like when someone does something wrong, you hate that as a competitive person because you don't want them to suck because you want them to be really good so you can trounce their butt by being more competitive than them, right? You don't want to see bad people doing inefficient things. There's no room for that. It's a competitive platform. On YouTube, I'll put out a videos like, I don't know, record myself 3 minutes every day. Like, here's a sample series that I thought I was going to do, but I don't have the time and I don't have the resource. Like, I didn't end up buying stuff that I needed because I spent a little too much on video games. But, I was going to record myself. I was going to record a 1 minute message. A 1 minute message every single day. And it was going to be to highlight a group of people that I'm grateful for, or a task that people do that I'm grateful for every single day. And that would attract zero attention on Twitch. Like, I'm going to be like literally zero attention, because what they're going to do is I'm like, why are you only grateful for these people? Like, what did they ever do for you? Like, these people are more important. No, that people is more important. These are better people than the people you're talking about. On YouTube, it'd be like, oh yeah, that's great. And all these other people too. Like, I think when you talked about this, I want to be thankful for this one. And then somebody else joins in and say, I'm thankful for this person. They're not competing with each other to be grateful for things. Like, it's not a competition to like something more or to dislike something more. A lot of times, but it does still happen on YouTube. Because, like, there are still Twitch users who go on YouTube, right? And back and forth. There are still competitive people and non-competitive people on Twitch. I'm a non-competitive person on Twitch, so they still exist. I'm just talking about statistically the selective biases in the community. YouTube are soft nurturers statistically more than Twitch. Twitch is cutthroat more. So if you're looking for good players, I'm sorry to say, you don't go on YouTube to look for good players. You go on Twitch to look for good players. Like, if you're looking for gaming advice, you don't go on, like, you might go on YouTube for guides on single player games, but if you're looking for a competitive game, you go on Twitch to look for someone who's competitive. That's what you want to see. You want to see live competitive action, and it's also psychological too, because on YouTube it could be edited, right? And then that creates disingenuousness and all that stuff. So when you're looking for a competitive good player, the first thing you think about is like, maybe I should look up YouTube. Like, no, you go on Twitch to look for whoever is, like, you know, cracked in their specialty. So highlighting that, you also have to know that when you're on Twitch, you're expected to do well. You're expected to do well in the thing you're doing. You could be super entertaining, but you have to be more entertaining than everyone else who's entertaining. And it's gonna suck, but here's a really real example. If you are not attractive than another person, that person is more attractive. They are more competitive than you in attractiveness. If this person has more money to spend, they literally have an edge over someone who has less money to spend. So we have to acknowledge both the trade-offs. If you thrive on a competitive platform, you are also constantly being competitive. No. You could be extra ugly too. Like, what I mean by ugly is relative to the trend. Like, if somehow the overall statistics back a certain feature that's unattractive, it could be the thing that makes you stick out. Great example. And I'm not gonna talk about the actual streamer. You'll know who I'm talking about if you've been around Twitch as long as I have. There are people who legitimately make more money by sucking the hardest at a video game. Like, the only reason they get paid is because they suck the hardest. And there are streamers that they deliberately cut off their heads because their greatest part is not their head. Also, here's another great one. The vast majority of Twitch streamers conditionally use avatars as a trending model because the community favors impeccable presentation. You might be thinking, oh, well, it's the chicken or the egg question. It's like, yeah, it is the chicken or the egg question. It's the competitive nature of having an avatar that looks great and fits your expectations and your high standards better than having a live human with imperfections and ugliness and things you don't disagree with. Well, on YouTube, that's called charm and personality. On Twitch, that's not better than an anime girl. Just saying. If you're a man, be a femboy. That's a little harsh, but that's kind of one of the trends. But the idea is that elegance, perfection is a thing. Like to look good is a thing. So someone told me, like, I didn't know this person at all, right? At all. They just drop in randomly. I don't know what they were talking about. The first thing they said was, your setup looks nice. It's like, yeah, my setup looked nice, but is this expensive? This is not expensive. You just gotta know how to look good, because looking good is important. It's a competition. If I just like loaded up something where it's just my bedroom with poor lighting and maybe a decent microphone on YouTube, it would be considered charming and quaint. Like, hey, this guy doesn't have millions of dollars to spend. I'm just saying. Just so you know. Just so you know, like, these light strips right here, they're like 50 cents. This is my disc golf bag. These are empty boxes of all the peripherals I buy. That is a fake tube from a wedding that we with like fake flowers in it from a wedding. These are all mementos given to me. So you're just like highlighting yourself to be more sentimental than someone else, but I'm not a sentimental person. So in order to heighten that, I have to have stuff that has story in them, because it elevates you. Yeah, I'm basically baiting people, but not so baiting people in the sense that I would sacrifice my own well-being. But I would if I was a competitive person. If I was a competitive person, I would totally use all my ways to manipulate someone to staying and asking me about what's happening. So for example, I'll give you a great example of a Twitch streamer or several streamers who do this deliberately. If I had a block of wood and I put a smiley face on it, I would deliberately leave very often for a bathroom break, and I would put a piece of wood in my computer chair. And then when I come back after 10 minutes, I'll spend most of my time talking and complaining and pointing out that people were talking about my blank of wood with a smiley face on it. Why is that important? It's something that isn't done very often. Yeah, and one day you'll have a sad face. Exactly. And this is not going where you think it's going. This person didn't deliberately do that. They didn't intentionally bait people to thinking that. In fact, they made an observation. They said that their viewership consistently went up in the time that they leave that plank of wood on their chair than actually being at the stream. So that streamer noted that, and they were suggesting that it's surprising or like it's aggravating. It's like, why is it? It shouldn't be aggravating. That's the whole point. You just did something that no one else did very often. You yourself, as a content creator, as a streamer, is really normal. It's pedestrian. You're sitting there chatting and observing things. There are tons of streamers that do that. Maybe even more attractive than you. Maybe have a better gimmick. But the moment you did something that got people talking, it's like, what the heck? Your thumbnail just shows like a plank of wood with a smiley face. Like, I gotta get in on that action. You have stuck out like a sore thumb. It's not supposed to be surprising. But this person is also inexperienced and like younger. And it's fun. Like, it's observing. But to me, it's like, well, no kidding. Because you're competing for attention. Like, so what were some of the more great examples that are Osu related? Pay me to guess your rank. You won't. Like, just doing something that someone else isn't doing and just plastering it on your stream. It's like, yeah, far more successful. But the thing is, do you want that? Do you want that to be your lifestyle? I don't. I do not want that. It's not an old person thing. I'm 30s. I want to stop competing. I don't want to compete for something that I do every single day. So I don't want to go out saying, I don't want to do something and someone coming in expecting me to, like, I don't know, FC something. Or like come in and say like, man, you're really down on the dumps. It's like, how long is this dry spell? And then immediately that person will disappear over time because they're obviously just looking for someone who's the next big thing. They're looking for the next big thing. I'm not looking for the next big thing. I had to live with myself. So I'm not looking for Twitch to beat YouTube. I'm not looking for YouTube to beat Twitch. I want these things to last forever, or like last at least until I can't do anything with them. So I want the alternatives and stuff there. I view Twitch like a lifestyle, and I view YouTube like a lifestyle. The only downside is Twitch does not view their content creators as lifestyle choices. They don't view their content creators as people with lives. They view their content creators as competitors in a cutthroat business model. YouTubers they're investing in community. Twitch is invested in competitors, which may constitute as a community, but as much as people throw around the C word, the community word, for me, a community is collaborative. That's the other C word, not competitive. In my opinion, yeah, sure, I get it. The fighting scene, the rhythm gaming scene, it's competitive. The people who consider them competitive will see that a community filled with competitors can be a community. Absolutely. I'm just not a competitor. So when I see community, I see collaboration. I don't see competitive. They all start with C. But if you want to be part of a competitive community, so be it. I am technically part of the Twitch community, but I never say I resonate with the Twitch community. Everything, all my inspiration, my like things I do on Twitch was not technically inspired off of Twitch. You might be thinking, but what about Osu? Like, technically, no. Because I actually started playing Osu because of a video I saw on YouTube. But continuing to play Osu, that is Twitch related. But we didn't start. The discoverability of everything that I've done on Twitch did not come from Twitch. I'll get on the next rising platform with unique candidate. Well, there is one. There are two, right? I think there are 2 or 3 competitive platforms now. I forgot what they're called, but there are definitely 2 or 3 now. Like, some of them already failed, like recast or something, or restream or something, and whatnot. I forgot. There were a lot, but they haven't entered the space. Oh well, Mixer. Well, we don't talk about that. All right. It's not the way I would think I would end the fourth week of tapping, but let's wrap this particular section up.